The ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and golden drapes, every detail carefully planned to perfection. It was the wedding of the year. The CEO's eldest son, Daniel, was marrying into another powerful family. Guests arrived in sleek cars, the women draped in designer gowns, the men polished in tailored suits. Cameras flashed at every angle, journalists whispered in corners, and laughter echoed across the grand hall. But amidst all the glittering perfection sat a girl in a wheelchair, quiet, unnoticed, and heartbreakingly invisible. Her name was Emily, the CEO's daughter. Emily was only 21, with deep brown eyes that always seemed to search for kindness in a room that rarely offered it. She had been paralyzed from the waist down after a car accident 3 years earlier, an accident that had stolen not only her ability to walk but also her confidence in a world obsessed with appearances. Tonight, at her own brother's wedding, Emily felt the sting of invisibility sharper than ever. Guests smiled politely when passing her table, but none stopped to truly talk. Most avoided eye contact altogether, as if her wheelchair was a reminder of fragility they didn't want to confront. Her father, Mr. Thomas Graham, the CEO, watched from across the hall. To the world, Thomas was a powerful man, ruthless in boardrooms, respected in every industry. But tonight, he wasn't the unshakable CEO, he was a father with a breaking heart. He saw how people turned away from Emily, how her smile grew thinner as the night went on. Every laugh from the crowd felt like another reminder that she didn't belong in their glamorous world anymore. As music swelled and couples danced, Emily sat at her table, her hands folded in her lap. She used to love dancing. Before the accident, she would twirl across rooms, the life of every party. Now, she watched from the sidelines, wishing just once someone would see her and not the chair. Her younger cousins darted past, giggling, but not one asked her to join. The bride and groom basked in attention, but no one thought to include Emily in the celebration. Her father clenched his fists under the table. The man who commanded empires couldn't command the room to see his daughter. He thought about the countless times Emily had cried quietly in her room, asking him if she would ever be normal again. He thought about the way she used to practice makeup and hairstyles, dreaming of her own wedding someday, and how now, she barely looked in the mirror. Then came the moment that shifted everything. The band announced the father-daughter dance. Guests clapped, anticipating a sweet moment between the bride and her father. Emily watched, her eyes glistening, as the bride's father led her to the dance floor. The spotlight glowed, the music began, and the couple twirled beautifully. Applause erupted, but Emily lowered her gaze, a lump forming in her throat. That was when Thomas stood. He adjusted his suit, his eyes fixed on his daughter. The room grew hushed as the CEO, rarely seen showing raw emotion, walked toward Emily's table. He extended his hand, not to the bride, not to the crowd, but to his daughter in the wheelchair. "May I have this dance?" he asked softly. Gasps rippled through the hall. Some guests exchanged awkward glances, others raised eyebrows. A few whispered, almost disapprovingly. But Thomas didn't care. Emily looked up, startled, tears welling in her eyes. "Dad, I can't," she whispered, glancing at her chair. He knelt beside her, his powerful frame lowered in humility. "You can," he said gently. "We'll do it together." For the first time that night, every pair of eyes in the hall turned toward Emily. With trembling hands, she placed hers in her father's. He wheeled her gently onto the dance floor, right into the center where all could see. The music began again, slower this time, and Thomas started to move her chair rhythmically, guiding her with grace. It wasn't a traditional dance, but it was beautiful. Emily lifted her arms, moving them in harmony with the melody, her father spinning her chair as if she were gliding across the floor. The crowd, stunned into silence at first, slowly softened. Some guests dabbed their eyes, others clutched their hearts. What began as awkward stares transformed into admiration as they realized they weren't just watching a father and daughter dance, they were witnessing love powerful enough to defy limitations. Tears streamed down Emily's face, but for once they weren't from sadness. She felt alive, radiant, seen. For those few minutes, she wasn't the paralyzed daughter, or the girl in the wheelchair. She was Emily, the girl who loved music, who once danced without fear, who still had beauty and dignity no accident could ever take. When the song ended, thunderous applause erupted. Guests stood, clapping, some even cheering. The bride herself wiped away tears, rushing over to hug her new sister-in-law. Emily, flushed with joy, laughed for the first time that evening. Her father whispered, "Never let them make you feel small, my darling. You are extraordinary." That night changed everything. Guests who had ignored Emily earlier now approached her, offering genuine conversation. Some apologized, others simply expressed admiration. But Emily didn't need their validation anymore. She had already received what she needed most, the reminder that she was worthy, loved, and far stronger than anyone had given her credit for. In the weeks that followed, the video of that dance spread online. Someone had recorded it, and soon millions watched the CEO dance with his daughter in a wheelchair. Strangers from across the world sent letters, praising Emily's courage and her father's devotion. For the first time since the accident, Emily felt a new sense of purpose. She began to speak publicly about her journey, advocating for people with disabilities, reminding the world that a wheelchair doesn't define a person, it only tells part of their story. The once invisible girl became a voice of strength. And at the heart of her transformation was a father who refused to let the world ignore his daughter. So, if you're watching this now, remember, no matter how the world treats you, your worth is not determined by their gaze. You are more than what they choose to see. And sometimes, all it takes is one person who believes in you to remind you of the truth: you are extraordinary.